cards that he's had in his hand since the beginning.
Yeah, and it's important to note like how big the discrepancy in resources on board is between the both players, because it's like not like Marco missed any land drops.
Right.
They have a bunch of lands in hand. It's just this Ice Steel Explorer making just paying its due and earning the spot in the deck very well. And
sure.
Marco's forced to use 2 premium cards in Force of Vigor and Primeval Titan in order to deal with Jimmy's resources.
Yeah, so we're going to be firing that off and getting rid of the prime time to be able to do this here and keeping our mana up. Might be looking, okay, yes, we could be able to cast that, just normally. Why are we firing it off this way? Part of it could be too is like we have a copy of the caves. We could be wanting to use the cave. Also, this gives us access if we had our Beseju that we could be fighting for and utilizing here. But Jimmy's going to do his own responding to this and start using his Beseju to pop that caves that Marco had stolen earlier with his own land. So tough spot to kind of have this little back and forth. And you see kind of Marco really kind of analyzing what's going on with things and trying to track through how this is going to play out. And it's not looking like it's going to play out well in his favor that he was hoping it would by using that Force of Vigor there.
Yeah. And another trick that Jimmy can use now is they can pick up a bounce land with the Erza's Cave and save their saga if they elect to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt they will do that, but it is a possibility for them.
Ooh, so they did get the Bajuka Bog as the choice here to help kind of at least stop the Besejus kind of constantly being utilized with the Isotil and bounce back and kind of replaying again and again and again. So it slowly kind of dampens it a little bit, but still a really tough spot for Marco to be in. But like you keep talking about, is just you can't ignore the amount of resources that are on the board right now for Jimmy.
Yeah, and I don't think Marco is aware of that, but Jimmy still has two Besejus in hand. Maybe one of them has been played before and picked up with the bounce land, but I don't think that's the case. So yeah, just 2 more Besejus, and now Jimmy can even like get Erza's Cave to fetch something and then replay it with Ice Steel. So yeah, it's looking. It is not particularly fast, which is what Titan accustomed us to, but it is quite inevitable, I think, that Jimmy is just progressing past the point of no return for Marco, especially with a pact in Jimmy's hand. So they can get either Titan / the Colossus, the Cultivator Colossus,
right,
to just have a huge monster in play, or they also brought in 6. They can just pact for 6 and start replaying both lands and permanents from their graveyard.
Oh my God, and just do like pure value style that way. So yeah,
Exactly.
a lot of options available then for Jimmy to kind of decide basically which path to take from here on out, because like you mentioned, there's basically 3 big lines that he can kind of go down that could basically help him close out the game here. And Marco's now is like still trying to piece something together. It feels like he has tools, he's been responding and trying to answer what Jimmy is doing, but it's not, none of that stuff has really kind of made him work towards his own kind of game plan. And there's the Force of Vigor for Jimmy to be able to pop both of the Urza sagas there.
Yeah,
that is a tough spot to be in here. We will at least be able to do some respondent and make a construct here, but it is a lowly 1/1 at this point. And losing 2 lands there, that is definitely not the spot you want to be in. And not being able to tutor up and find your Amulet of Vigor, big big wins there for Jimmy in that spot. Oh, we have our own amulet. Nope, just kidding. There's that Boseiju. We had all of these resources still ready to kind of answer whatever you did, Marco.
Yeah, and with so many Boseijus just looping back and forth, Marco will reasonably soon just run out of lands.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, and if you get Lotus Field as well, like eventually you are just able to loop Lotus Field and Bounce Land and Boseiju to not over one turn, but progressively just destroy every single land that Marco plays that's not a forest, because Boseiju can't attack basics. But yeah, it looks like Marcos or Jimmy is just electing for a faster way, tutoring for a Primeval Titan. And yep, speeding things up considerably.
Yep, and we will be getting some little bit of ways to help give it some haste. Got a bounce land coming out here. So do we have all right, mill? Oh, wait. Oh yeah, it's like they have to at least cut and do all that stuff. 2 lands entered, mill 2. We'll be able to, of course, bounce that, replay that. Let's give this guy haste. Send the Titan across.
Yeah, and this game is over now. Marco won't die for another turn, or this turn, but will die next turn. And or very likely die next turn, unless there is a chance. Oh no, Mirror Pool is still in the deck. I thought it might have been exiled before with the Bojuka Bog, but yeah. Now next turn Marco will, or Jimmy will make another Titan, and that just will seal the game.
So was there any moments or any lines that Marco might have been able to have done something differently to attack Jimmy's game plan? It felt like basically once the Isotil came out, things just really just snowballed in Jimmy's favor there. But was there any moments that he could have done something differently?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
As much as I was looking at Marco's hand, we don't have perfect information, but close to perfect. Being able to peek into both players' hands with a reasonably high degree of accuracy, and I just don't think that there was anything that Marco could have done to prevent Jimmy from enacting their game plan. Nor were they able to just maybe find some proactive line of their own.
Yeah, it's like the Summoners pack definitely helped Jimmy out a lot, being able to find the Primeval Titan, being able to find that Isotil when he did and just sort of take over. And there's the hands extended, and it looks like Jimmy will be able to take that series there and put him in that 3-0 record as well here. So, tough spot to be in, a little bit of a grindiness for these players here as they were able to get the mirror matchup there in that round, but pretty good stuff to be able to see. Again, we've seen so many different decks, and we have a quick turnaround for you because we've got another round to go and 2 different, well, we've seen one of the decks on camera, but we've got another deck to be able to showcase today for you all here. And this, of course, is our all-day modern adventures that we've got for you guys. This is the 4 Seasons Winter 2026 event. I'm Nan, joined by Enric. And we've got Yawgmoth battling it out as our next one to showcase. And who is the Yawgmoth deck going to be playing against?
I think it's Affinity.
So we've seen Affinity before. So let's talk a little bit about the Yawgmoth list, because Yawgmoth got some new life to it with some avatar cards. So, Yenrik, talk to me a little bit about what are we expecting to see out of the Yawgmoth list?
Yeah, as you mentioned, 2 big additions to Yawgmoth. And one of them from Avatar set, we have Badger Moral Cup that just is a boon for green decks in every format, basically up to Modern. Haven't really been following Legacy, so I don't know if Badger Moral Cup is a card that sees play in Legacy, but Modern, Standard, Pioneer, all of those formats, just Badger Moral Cup is an extremely potent card and allows this deck to be both faster and more resilient to removal in a weird way, because the airbended land, once it gets dealt with, just comes back into play as a regular land. And the second new addition is from Lorwyn Eclipsed. Once again, we saw Formidable Speaker in Living End, and now we have it in Yawgmoth as well, which, as you can see, is not as important as Badger Mole Cup, at least looking at 4 copies of Badger Mole Cup and only 2 copies of Formidable Speaker. But it's another way to grab an extra Yawgmoth. It also allows you to play a Strangleroot Geist, which is like you got this split of 3 Young Wolves, 1 Strangleroot Geist, because sometimes you want your Undying creature to have haste. And yeah, Yawgmoth is a deck with various loops, and sometimes maybe this Strangleroot Geist can be a card that allows you to present arbitrarily a large amount of hasty damage, which might be quite important.
Yeah, so that's the Yawgmoth list. It's very cool. It's nice to see it kind of back in Modern because it is one that's kind of fell off a little bit here. And we have our first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle card on camera, or at least in this list here. So at least 2 of them, it looks like, on this. But we've seen Affinity before. So this one is going to be casting a bunch of artifacts in a turn here. But, tell me a little bit about this Affinity list in particular.
Okay, so I think Carl also played Affinity last week. There was a European Unity League finals in Bologna as well. And I think Carl was the modern seed and played Affinity as well. Can't quite recall how they did in that tournament, but it's a player that I recognize from like various European tournaments.
Nice.
And yeah, 2 new cards. Skateboard, which apparently can tap target permanent. I haven't seen that card, I'm gonna be quite honest, before. When I was looking through Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles spoilers, I haven't paid much attention to cards that didn't look like standard cards,
Right.
given that my focus is mostly RC next week. But yeah, looks like a nice upgrade or alternative, let's say, to boots, because instead of Ward 1, you get to tap a blocker, which is probably in this deck might be more important than getting the Ward 1. Also, balls. It's also 1+1/+0, I think. So yeah, same stat line.
Yeah, exactly same
yeah.
stat line, same cast to cost it, and the same to equip it there. So just tapping the blocker could be really relevant. And then we've also got the Krang Mastermind there. So another little bit of actually affinity card in here. It says affinity for artifacts, and it's a 1/4 there. So when it enters, if you have 4 or fewer than 4 cards in your hand, draw cards equal to the difference, and it gets +1/+0 for each other artifact you control. So a little bit of cranial plating attached to a creature that can help refill your hand. So it's kind of like this, like if we took cranial plating and one of our thought monitors and fused them together into this. So it's gonna be interesting to see if that's gonna be utilized here. But I like seeing some new cards get added to decks.
Yeah, some nice additions. It looks like, I think Carl is on the mulligan to 6, and also on the play, I believe. So yeah, it looks like a decision between turn 1 Emery and turn 1 Metallic Rebuke, and I would definitely favor casting Emery. Mostly because I don't think that. Oh, interesting. Oh, you can. Okay,
just
of course.
it
Now we
all.
have Metalcraft. Yeah, yeah. So just getting
Oh my
this
gosh.
cheeky Eater Spellbomb essentially for free, and yeah, there aren't really any turn 1 plays that Yawgmoth can threaten Affinity with. Like, there are of course 1-mana cards in their deck,
Right.
but nothing that warrants Metallic Rebuke. Maybe aside from the Lighted Halfling, because then it renders counter magic useless. But with Ether Spellbomb already in play, you can let the Halfling resolve and then bounce it and potentially counter it on the way back. So yeah, definitely a nice fast start from Carl. If I was in Carl's seat, the thing that I would worry about the most is that Carl didn't mill any anything other than just Mox Opals, which
Right.
might left them low on resources. But I also